Hey everyone, I'm gonna wait just a couple more minutes. It looks like there are still people joining, so I will get started at about, let's go with 11:03 Central Time. All right. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Thank you everyone for joining. This is actually our official first payments release webinar. We'll make sure that we keep having these monthly cadences for all of our releases to go through everything that we're putting into our applications, adding use cases and upcoming features that we want to chat with you all about. So to get started, if anybody has any questions, go ahead and post in the chat. I will keep an eye out for the chat and QA and try to answer the questions as they come in. I'm not the best multitasker, so I may save the questions for the end. And then of course you guys can always reach out to us through our support form. One other awesome piece that we've just started to implement is intercom. So as you can see on my screen in the bottom right hand corner, this is going to be an option for, we're still kind of working out the logistics of it, but our initial thought is for anybody with premium support and above can now chat, and we can handle support just through a chat, giving you quicker response times. So that is a pretty cool feature, and we're deciding if we want to expand this out to all customers. So we'll keep you posted on that. Heading over to our release. So I don't think that this will take probably more than 20 minutes to go through. But of course, if there are questions at the end or you want to chat about something, I'm happy to extend it and have us go the full hour. So something to preface every time that you receive a release note, please upgrade this into your sandbox first before you upgrade to production. Loss of words there. Reason being is that just so everybody knows, we do have end-to-end tests. We put in tests within our application to make sure that everything is working. But of course, there are edge cases and potential configuration that you guys have that we don't know about. So being able to have it in there in the sandbox, run through your process can at least just give you the confidence that nothing is going to break or go wrong in production. So that's the first thing. Next piece is with our upgrade instructions. If we are trying out a few new formats with our release notes, and so hopefully the structure is not confusing in terms of reading through all of these items. First up that we have is new fields and layouts. So we have managed permission sets. If you are using them, great. Any new fields, logic, code, anything like that, will automatically get added to the manage permission sets. If you have any custom permission sets that you are using for your payments users, definitely check out this section. Reason being is that you will need to add these fields into that custom permission set, or if you're using profiles, you'll need to add it there for your users to have access to these fields. So we're just trying to group them as much as possible so that it's easy for your team to upgrade. All right, from there, so number one is with duplicate rules. So for the longest time until now, we have been matching payment gateway customers' payment methods with contacts in your Salesforce org solely based on email. We did have a custom setting, so if you needed a little bit more granular, it would be based on email and first name. This is no longer the case, which is a great thing. We heard everybody's feedback. You know, you have leads, you have person accounts, you have, you know, a little bit more complex or in-depth matching logic. And so we wanted to have it be flexible. And with that came essentially using your duplicate rules through what we have a new object called relationship settings. So just to show you the navigation here, if you go to your app launcher and then you type in payment gateways, this relationship setting is going to be directly related to your payment gateway. So if you guys have multiple payment gateways and each payment gateway maybe has a different process with how you want matching and creation logic to happen, you are able to have it specifically there. If you're just like, regardless of the payment gateway, this is how we want it to flow in, then you can set the same relationship setting for every single gateway. So on here, there's a field called relationship settings. You'll want to add that into your page layout. And then when you upgrade, there should be a default relationship setting just so that, you know, you have at least something at a minimum for matching. And this is what it looks like. So you get to define what the rule is in terms of how you want to handle it, right? So you get to have a ton of options. You only want to relate if there's a matching record. If there isn't a match, would you like to create a new record, always create a new record, or just don't do anything with this? We have our own duplication logic. Let us handle it from when a payment method or a payment gateway customer gets created. So the default setting is create new record if no match, which I would assume most people on this call and our customers would use. And then you get to define what the new record settings are. So again, if you're an organization that says, yeah, we have a lot of criteria and items that we use to qualify a contact being created. So we'll start with a lead. That way, you can then set your create rule to create a new lead if nothing matches. And then from there, you can also do account, person account with contact. If you want to say, hey, there's a new contact that got created, you can also create that account or have it matched to an existing account based on the duplicate rules. So again, we get very granular. If you want to define the record type, the contact record type, the lead record type, you have all of those specifics. Just making sure. I'm going to pause every once in a while to look over at chat. No questions? Great. So I'm going to run through this really quick, and I'm going to start by creating just a contact in my Salesforce org. I'll go ahead and just do run. Awesome. So the concept of this is now if I were to go to the payment method tab and I wanted to create a new payment method, I'm going to do a card. Let me go ahead and put Rob. I think I had it as Smith. I should have paid attention to that. Smith. I'll go ahead and check it before I finish with this. And then we'll go ahead and put in the card. Expiration month, year, CVV, postal, and then Rob at let me just make sure too that this is the contact. Rob Smith. Okay, great. And then we'll go ahead and set the payment gateway as primary. So again, that relationship setting is connected to it. I am not going to define anything else. So I'm going to go ahead and click save. We're going to let that do its thing. And essentially how the logic works is we automatically create a payment gateway customer if there isn't an existing one matched on email. And so when I now go to the payment gateway customer, once give it another refresh, it will essentially create it. And then that's when the relationship settings will kick in to say, is there a match? If there is, great. And then how we have our roll down logic is that when the contact gets set on the payment gateway customer record, it's going to roll down to all of the related payment method customers as well, or contact field and account. So as you can see, everything got connected. When I come to the payment gateway customer, it gets defined for the contact because it was an existing contact. It's going to go ahead and grab that and then the related account to it. Great. So like I said, just when you do upgrade, if you have, any logic that you built off of how we had this hard coded before, just make sure to evaluate your duplicate rules. One thing I want to touch on that is if you are going to do cross duplication logic, so say, you want a new lead created if there isn't an existing, you're going to need to use the lead duplicate rule and include, the contact matching rule within that dupe rule so that it can evaluate not just leads, but then also any related contacts that might match. Having the alert on create is also necessary. So we essentially try to insert a lead. We get an alert that says, whoa, wait, there's an existing contact or lead. Here's the record ID for that matching record. And then we grab that from the alert and then set it onto that payment gateway customer record. So if you have any questions about duplicate rules, or with the matching rules, don't hesitate to reach out. Most of the time you probably have the standard rules enabled already. And if you have your own process like dupe checker, then it should be able to work as well. Or you would have that relationship setting to say, don't do anything, dupe checker will handle it because we've custom built this out from that object. All right, so let me go ahead and close these tabs and we'll move on to the next piece. So the next part is with our virtual terminal. So let me bring this on over. So I'm on an opportunity and I have now a new section for the virtual terminal. Looks like the same thing you guys see in your org. One difference is if you go over to the new payment method tab, you will see that we allow for you to select which type of payment method you want to capture. For the longest time, we only had card, and that was the only option. You had to do ACH through the payment method tab and selecting the ACH record type. So now we're bringing it into the virtual terminal. For Stripe, especially if you have the micro deposits, it'll still create an ACH payment method with that pending state. And you'll have to collect the micro deposits, set it. Once it's valid, then you can then use it within this terminal. With Authorize.net, that's not the case. They have it instantly validated. And so once you come over here and you create that ACH payment method type, then you can come back to the charge and define it on that payment method for capturing a transaction against your opportunity. That is the MVP that we have out. We currently have a few tickets that we are working through to improve this experience. So for example, one would be when you go through the payment method field on the transaction, it's not showing up here yet. And so we want to get it so that you can select ACH or card. And then if it is pending, kind of follow the same route that you see with PayLink and Document Link, where it creates that pending transaction associated with the pending ACH payment method. Once the micro deposits are done and it's verified, then you're going to be able to easily capture that transaction that came from this opportunity. We did realize also that we need to update the label for the new payment method. So it definitely needs to just say name for the account instead of on the card, but you get the gist of what it is. I'm trying to think of anything else with virtual terminal. We're still working. So on our roadmap, we did reach our a level of PCI compliance that's on our website now for that attestation, if you need to see it. but we are working directly with Stripe.js, so it's a little bit more kind of technical, working with Stripe.js and Accept.js for Authorize.net, so that nothing is getting actually submitted through the virtual terminal into Salesforce before getting submitted to the payment gateways. They are now just going directly to the payment gateways from the virtual terminal. We receive back those tokens for the cards and the transaction IDs, and then save them into Salesforce with the related transactions and payment methods. So doing our job to make it stable, more compliant, and the goal is that we're going to be applying and doing another level of PCI compliance higher than what we have currently. Again, if you guys have questions, let me know. And if there's anything that you want to see or have me kind of show, even that's not part of the June release, I'm happy to go through that too. From there, I'm going to talk quickly about our refunds. So we did add in a new scheduled job. I'm going to go ahead and navigate to this and talk about refunds. So before, the ability to refund was through going to the captured transaction, clicking the refund button, or having some automated process that would check a box for refund, or if it was a partial refund, that box on the transaction with the defined partial amount, refund amount. What we got for a request from a few of our customers was, okay, this is really great and we can build out these processes, but what if we just kind of want to batch the refunds and have them all happen on a certain day at a certain time, very similar to the daily captures that you may be using. So we built this out, and so now we have a daily refund scheduled job, and I'm going to run through essentially what the criteria is for the transaction in order to have that refunded and get picked up in the scheduled job. All of these, by the way, too, we have set start times for them every single day. If you wanted to reschedule, you definitely are able to. You just need to delete this job, and then you go back to the Apex class associated to this and schedule it for whatever time you want. I highly suggest trying to keep it to once a day or twice a day, maybe morning and night, just so that it's not like every 5 minutes and maybe overlapping with a job that didn't finish. All right, so let me bring my transaction over here. And so the criteria is very similar, and we have this all documented, but you will have a captured transaction. So let me just start from the beginning. So I have a transaction for $100. It's been captured regardless if it's pending or available. What you will do is you will create a new transaction, and the amount will be negative. The transaction type will need to be marked as refund. The due date, auto process, the payment method has to be the exact same payment method from the original transaction. And then you need to relate the original transaction to this refund transaction that you created. So again, there will be some automation that you will need to configure. Again, it's really based on your expectations and requirements for this. But when you get all of those fields populated, then it's essentially set up for getting pulled into that scheduled job that happens once a day that we have out of the box. So again, it just helps with kind of batching them up. Maybe it's pushed out into a future date, and so that if anything changes or you can cancel a refund, then you're able to do that instead of just immediately capturing the refund. Again, if you have any questions about specific use cases, or if you think this is something that you can use, then go ahead and reach out to us and we can definitely talk through that use case. Okay, next part. With our payment methods, so kind of talking a little bit more about this, we have created a packaged quick action so that you can collect a new payment method on a contact record, lead record, or account, or anything that you set up as the parent to a payment method. So you'll just add in this quick action into your Lightning layout. We also have a button version for Classic if you're still using Classic, but it's just nice. So if you have somebody calling up and say, hey, I want to update my payment method that you have on file, you can go to that contact, because you're probably going through a few levels of qualifying who's on the phone with you, right? And then you can go ahead and click new payment method. And then we just provide this nicer experience. And so you can select card or ACH. Once you do that, it'll create the payment method. It will link the payment method to an existing payment gateway customer if there is one based on email, or it will create that new one, and then everything is tied together. This is something I believe that you can also show through in a community. So if you wanted to give kind of that self-service ability without creating your own visual flow for collecting these, you definitely can just grab this and use it there as well. Our goal and kind of what the purpose of the June release was more so about refactoring and cleaning up some of our older code and some of our older features, and then improving on some of the staples of our application. So virtual terminal and everything around collecting payment methods. So now you don't have to use a related list for just the payment method object and record and having to create a page layout, or, you know, like focusing on certain fields for users and having to build that out. If this is, you know, a simpler version of that and you can include it on a page layout, it takes a lot less time to configure for your users. So, okay. Let me see here. And then just to talk about, I'm just going to come back here to the release. There are a few items for Stripe billing and Stripe Connect in terms of, so when I was talking about like visually making the, you know, add payment method cleaner, it's something that we did with Stripe Connect. I think, Peter, you are the only one on this listening, and that is using Stripe Connect, or the customer that's using Stripe Connect. So, and you've already tested this out, but essentially we made creating an external account very simple as well, and it's more visually appealing instead of it just bringing you to the record, the Salesforce record with all of the fields that may not be applicable to just the external account. So yeah, other than that, we have, error messages. This is a good one. So with PayLink and actually with Document Link as well, you now have more visibility into what the issues are with your transactions. And so if a customer before had an invalid CVV code or something like that, it just said there was an error with your payment, and it didn't allude to what was the error. It just allowed you to try again. But if it kept happening over and over, usually what the customer would do is reach out to you guys, and then you would be looking on the back end to see, oh, this is the reason for it. So now we surface that and we break it up into 2 calls. So if there's ever an issue with the payment method, the customer will receive that message so that they can try again. And then if it's obviously with the transaction where it fails, it shows the message and that it says, we will contact you, or please contact for additional information. So we've been able to weed out, you know, or hopefully lessen the support calls that you guys get. So it's focused just on the failed transactions that do need to be fixed and for you to create a new one, versus maybe payment method errors of entering in the wrong card number, or it's the wrong postal code, or whatever the reason may be. Customer knows it and they can try again. And then good amount of bug fixes. So please go through those. There's a few Stripe Connect customers. April's release was very heavy on Stripe billing updates and some fixes. This time it was more so with Stripe Connect, and then just with the payments app as a whole. A few things with mobile payments as well for enhancements. I don't think there's anybody on this call that I can see that is using mobile payments, but we have with Stripe work with their card readers to do in-person payments. So there were a few updates with that. If you guys are interested and didn't even realize we had a mobile payment app, please reach out to us. We're happy to fill you in and see if it's maybe something you guys can use for one of your use cases. And then, yeah, so the other last thing I just want to go is, and I like how great, our intercom is already working. So one piece that was just pushed out from our marketing team is our agent payments. And so if anybody on the call uses Salesforce Live Agent and you want that to be another way that you can have support chat payments, we do support that. So let me know if that is something that you guys are interested in. Again, you can just get to this page and learn more about it right from payments, and then doing this drop down to the agent payments. And that is it. Any questions? I can take anybody off of mute if you would like to talk, or if you have any questions, just let me know. And I'll hang out here probably for another 5 minutes, but if I don't see any other questions, I will end this. again, you guys know how to reach us, so don't hesitate to. All right, thank you.